Hey buddies, welcome to AmassGames. My name is Simon. Today we're going to set up play and review for the game Cellulose, a plant cell biology game. Now this is by Genius Games. It's a 1 to 5 player game. It takes about 90 minutes to play and it is double-sided. I do recommend playing with this side. This is with the mangrove going on here, but I'll be talking to you about the base game initially. So I've played this at numerous player counts, both on this side and of course, like I said, on that mangrove side too. Aim of the game is to get the most points building out this plant. So ultimately, whoever gets the most points wins. In the case of a tie, it's basically whoever's further along the vacuole track. And in case of a further tie, there is yet another tiebreaker as well, because I can tell you I have hit both of these tiebreakers and it's whoever's further up on this track. So in this particular game, we are looking to get into our biological spirit, and if you have any kind of interest in that too, there is actually a kind of science behind it too, which I have read, very interesting. It tells you how the mechanisms of the game works as well and how it kicks in. Sometimes I find it can be, despite actually having studied the subject at university to an honours degree level, I have found that I have been a bit tired at times reading it too. I've also got other games to tell you about here, Cytosis, which is basically this re-implements as well, which I've played too. I've got Genotype to bring you as well, so you subscribe and hit the like bell, and of course make sure you share because there'll be more videos coming for Genotype. Also Periodic is on the table too, as well as Ecosystems coming soon, as well as the follow-up to Ecosystem, Coral Reef, and I've also played Outnumbered and I've met the designer of that as well. So in this particular game, we are going to be worker placement. That is the main kind of mechanism in this particular game. And again, it's 1 to 5 players. This happens to be set up 1 to 3. And the game will be triggered to the ending when we happen to complete the cell wall using carbohydrates represented by these markers over here. Now, if you have seen any of my Instagram photos, please do head through to the description on YouTube and of course follow along there. You will notice that what I tend to do is actually show you already pictures of this, and from that you will notice various things, such as the fact that you can see various different ways in which the game is being played out, where people have been going and what you can be doing. Now, I have also sleeved this game as well, so if you want to check out my sleeving playlist, please do so. Various cards are going to be shuffled and brought out, again depending on if you're playing 1 to 3 or 4 to 5, it varies slightly as well. Now there's solo play available, check out my solo playlist. This is yet actually to be played solo. It's a number of different cards you can play with. Let's just check out white, I think it stands out quite nicely with the board. So you're going to have 3 markers to be placing out here. Let me show you how these are going to work. So you're going to place out where we're starting, which is over here. Any kind of science as well, I do recommend checking out too. And there we go, let's leave it into shot there. Okay, so we have got some markers. These are basically how you're going to be placing out your workers, blocking other people from going there too. We're also going to have a sunrise phase. Each sunrise, we're going to get ourselves some carbon dioxide and water, depending on where you are in the route, and up into the shoots as well. Now, if you ever worry about these kind of cubes, we have red representing protein. We've talked about this already. Carbohydrate is over here. We're going to have a starting marker, which is worth 50 as well once you go around the board. This is a Kramer track, named after Wolfgang Kramer. So check my various videos for Wolfgang. We're going to need some water out too. So again, just out of shots, we're going to have that as well. And we have a little player aid as well for everybody. So this is double-sided, so I'm just using 2 to show you how that works. Other things can come out as well. So what can you do in your turn? Well, let's talk to you about the various spaces and then talk about where you may wish to go. So first off, we can see we have an income phase. So obviously every round, once you've placed out your 3 workers, we're going to go back and do a sunrise phase. So the sunrise, a day phase, and like an evening kind of clean-up phase as well. So where do you want to go? Well, like I said, it makes sense to be efficient at some point in the game to choose to go and actually improve this track over here. You might think everybody else is going to do that too, and in some respect that is true to this game. You might find that despite there being about 12 or so places you can go, people might choose just to do the same old thing, but in fact I can tell you for a fact that you can win this game and not go initially on this kind of stuff, because there's easy points to be gained, like high amount of points to place on the cell wall earlier, i.e. 12 points. So let's talk about these various locations. Again, start player marker as well is going to get one of these. Every other player is going to get more water to start off with, depending on who starts in which position. So for example, if you are going first, you're not getting any extra water, whereas if you're going second, you're getting 2 water, third also gets 3, fourth gets 4 waters, and fifth gets 5. So let's say I start, and let's talk to you about what you can do. So we can choose to get some more protein. So my first turn, I can go here, get myself 5 protein. I can use protein to maybe buy some cards. As you can see, there's some costs on here I'll come back onto. Once that's taken, everybody else can go here, but for your particular colour, you can only go there once. So I cannot place another white marker of mine on here. So this is not allowed, so I can only do it once. We do have some grey markers, which I'll come back on to tell you about as well in a moment. So where else can you choose to go? Well, you could choose to go over here instead to retain first player, and you'll also have to spend one CO2. At the minute, we did take one CO2 when we started because we just did a sunrise phase. Also, you get to draw a card from the top of the deck, not one of these, and it's a little kind of thing you can work towards and get some points. Points represented by these flower symbols, and there's various other things I'll talk to you about in a second. So that is this area. What you could do instead is go and get some hormones. You might want to get hormones because it's going to cost you to go further along these places, again, to get them respective benefits every round. Again, once that's taken, all you can do is go there. There's only 2 spaces, and that's it in one round. If you happen to have some protein, we talked about why you might want to do that. Well, if you didn't have any protein, or it makes sense to do this because it costs you nothing, you can go down here, but of course you need to spend the cost. So next income, you'll be getting 2 water, but you do have to pay 1 hormone. Currently we don't have any, so it makes sense to kind of go here before you go here. Or you could do the same here. Again, you will need some hormones first. And you can choose to go anywhere you like along here. You can go along any of these, again, part of the pond, but branching areas, but you can never come back up. Now the other side of the map is better, the other side of this board, because with a mangrove you bounce back up again, you can do other things, which is a lot more fun and a lot more interesting. Because once you're down the bottom, you'll never need to go here again. So that is the plant membrane. We've talked about the cytoplasm. Let's talk about mitochondria. Now this time round, we're going to need extra stuff. You need to start getting some carbohydrates, which we'll come back onto. So let's move over to this side of the board. We could choose to have placed over here. This gives us water equal to the water level, so it's 5, and this is going to go down. So you're going to take 5 water and bump this down 1 space, which means anybody else is now getting less water because they've already taken some out of the plant. Now when you take your 5 water, what you can do is contribute to the central vacuole. In this case, let's say I chuck in 1. I'm playing white, so it goes into my zone. I'll talk to you how that works in a second. Let's just say I've chucked in 3 and leave, let's say 1 in there or something like that. Okay, and now let's talk to you about the rest of the bits that we're going out with. So depending on if you're playing at 1 or 2 or 3 players, or whichever player count depending on the side of the board, you're also placing out a grey flask. I'll tell you how that works in a second. So over here instead we could have got some CO2, because if you have 6 water and 6 CO2, you can post in the sides, taking this action space. So in this case, you might want to go here instead of here. Let's say, again, there's only 3 actions. Each round you'll be doing different things. You will definitely do everything. You'll take 6 CO2, and sometimes, quite helpfully, all of these markers, typically speaking, are in value 6, because that's the most common amount you're getting most places. So if that's full, you're going to get 4 instead. Down here, again, if you happen to have 6 of each, you can convert. Now if you have 2 of them, you can go there instead, and again only 1 person could do that, and you're going to get yourself some carbohydrates. Why do you want carbohydrates? Well, we've talked about this over here. If you happen to now go here on a future turn, then you're going to spend your carbohydrate either to do this, to get yourself 12 points in this case, and now it's obviously going to be worth 12 and then 10, and you're also chucking out some water into your zone. That comes from the general supply. It does not come from your personal supply, unlike this one, which you can see comes from your personal supply. That's how that works. We've talked about this very briefly, but if you happen to instead do this for some reason, you're choosing to get yourself some ATP, which is basically energy, adenosine triphosphate. So that's 6, worth 6, or there's smaller ones worth 1. Actually, no, these are worth 1. There are 6 ones in here too, but generally speaking, it's easy enough to just take 6. But sometimes, as you'll see, spending 6 is also useful. So you can get 5 ones in this case. 5's also available for the for the protein. Sorry, it's value 3s. Okay, so if you wanted to, you can go there. And then what you could do? Well, you've kind of covered every option. But imagine we finished the round and we managed to get out some hormones. Let's say we did 3 hormones. So we did that on our first turn to get 3. We went here and we went here. Then we've gone up, and let's say we've gone, I don't know, here or here. Let's say. So, beginning of the next round, well, firstly we do cleanup. So how does that work? This resets back up to the level it's at. So basically, as soon as it's full, it's now a bit more of a firmer stem, so it goes further up. And of course, when you cross this line, you're now getting even more water kicking in. We resolve this. So in this case, I happen to have contributed the most. So we lose all the water, but I do gain an extra flask, which means an extra turn next round, which means I can go here on my turn, get 3 protein, and I could go here. So I could go there, I could go here, and I could go here because it's different colours. So that stays because no one else actually managed to obviously have the most, so it stays there for next round. Also, because I have the most, I get 1 point, so I take that now. These cards will clear, so in this case, in a 2-player game, you'll lose these 2. In a 4 to 5, you will actually only lose 1, so those 2 go. These 2 go across, we bring out 2 new cards. We didn't talk about the cards at the bottom down here. So instead, you could have gone here for free. And in this case, all the cards go into your hand. At the end of your turn, you can always spend one, you can always play out one card, spending its cost. In this case, you need 2 ATP and 2 protein. You'll get yourself 4 points immediately. And as you can see, we've got this small little jigsaw puzzle. That means, imagine we've played out this card. On a future turn, we play out a different card, so you pay out the cost. If you have a spare protein, you can trigger the bottom ability, not the card that you just played, so you get an extra 2 points. So that's how that works. As you might notice, I have zoomed out. I think it's a little cleaner to actually have this zoomed out. I know it's a bit grainy and it's a bit all over the place, this board, but do apologise. It's just, I guess, the shape of the board, which is a nice shape. It's just obviously from a camera perspective. And then obviously you can pay what's it called? A CO2 to take this action, or 2 or 3 if there's a card you really want. Again, you can only ever play one card. Briefly talk about these cards. So here's the cost again. This one is you get total points at the end of the game in pink if they're pink cards. In this case, end of game scoring green. So if you're top of the shoots or the end of the shoots, you are going to get points equal to the CO2 production. So if you end here, you'll get 8 points. If you're here, it's the same card, but other cards we can talk about. So we've seen quite a few enzymes, these orange cards, starches, pay to carbohydrate worth 12 points, and you can draw 3 cards, you lose 2. And we've got other cards in here such as plant vacuole, lets you take off a marker again, paying 5 and 2 for 4 points, but again it makes you take an extra turn. And sometimes you can take back-to-back turns. Sometimes you can play out straight onto here rather than having to use a cell wall. And in future turns, you can just pay 1 protein to do the same thing as well. So that's how that works. That pretty much covers everything you can do. What else is there to say about the end of the round? Well, I said you recover your action markers. You are going to advance, obviously, this track here. We've talked about this bumping along as well. We're adding an extra cell wall as well. So like I said, the game constantly speeds along. And that's pretty much it. The game doesn't outstay its welcome. I think if it was any longer, it would. But as it is, I think it kind of works effectively. I think I like the way that obviously it looks. It's quite smooth in its play. And actually, for worker placement, you can have very open options. But in this case, generally speaking, you are kind of wanting to do the same thing. And it kind of shepherds you. Now, some people might not like that. It's not sandbox. But generally speaking, if you wanted to do, let's say, heading up into the plant, then everyone is going to kind of do this stuff. But equally, if everyone's doing that, then if you're going 3rd or 4th, either you only go to the nucleus, but actually then you've got a spare card as well to play with, and it works effectively. Let's briefly show you the other side, because as I said, it is a better side to play on. And over on this side, as you can see, when you go down, you immediately get this benefit. So you can chuck out 2 cell wall pieces, and then you can bounce it to any of these 3 locations, and then you can, of course, go whichever place you want to. So it's very nice. Again, every round you are doing, getting yourself more of whatever you're up to as well. Again, in this case, you can't then come back down. Over here, you can photosynthesize and photosynthesize every single turn. Did rush through that at quite a right speed of knots, but I was very keen to get this out to you. This has been filmed over the Christmas period, and I'm keen to get it out to you for the Christmas period. You might find educational and otherwise interesting to actually choose to play and enjoy. So that has been Cellulose. Like I said, other videos coming to the channel soon in the series. Check out the AmassGames playlist, the Family playlist, and there's a few others coming along too. But for now, that's been it. Thank you for watching Cellulose. Back to the table.